Welcome to the Deep Dive. We got a ton of requests to break down this interview with Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI.
Yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing stuff.
He's talking about a future of abundance driven by AI, and not centuries from now.
Right, like not even decades.
He thinks it could all happen within our lifetimes.
Yeah, and he makes a pretty compelling case for how AI, specifically this thing called artificial superintelligence, or ASI. ASI, yeah, is advancing at like an exponential rate.
So hold on, break that down for me.
Basically, he believes that we're on the cusp of creating AI that's not just smarter than humans,
Oh, wow.
but like orders of magnitude smarter.
Okay, so what does that even look like? Like, what would an ASI even do?
Well, that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Altman argues that ASI could solve some of humanity's biggest problems, things like climate change,
Climate change.
disease, even poverty.
Poverty, wow.
He believes that ASI could lead to this era of abundance where resources are plentiful and we have solutions to problems that have plagued us for centuries.
That sounds like something out of a science fiction movie.
I know, right? But Altman's not just some wide-eyed dreamer.
Okay.
He's the CEO of one of the leading AI research labs in the world.
True, that's true.
And he's laying out a roadmap for how we can actually get to this future of abundance. And a big part of it hinges on this concept of unlocking not just vast intelligence,
Okay.
but also cheap and plentiful energy.
Energy. So he's saying that AI could revolutionize how we produce and consume energy.
Exactly. He believes that AI could lead to breakthroughs in areas like fusion power, which could provide us with a nearly limitless source of clean energy.
Wow, so we're talking about a future where energy is basically free.
Potentially.
Yeah.
And when you think about the implications of that, it's mind-boggling.
I mean, almost everything we do requires energy.
Right, from transportation to manufacturing to growing food.
To keeping our homes warm.
Exactly. So if we could drastically reduce the cost of energy, it would have a ripple effect across every aspect of society.
It's like suddenly all these things that seemed impossible, like ending world hunger or colonizing Mars,
Right.
suddenly they become, well, maybe not easy, but at least within the realm of possibility.
That's exactly Altman's point. He's saying that we're on the verge of a technological revolution that could fundamentally reshape the world as we know it.
It's a pretty bold vision, but he seems pretty convinced.
Well, he's not alone.
Oh.
A growing number of experts in the field of AI believe that we're approaching a point where these technologies could have a transformative impact on society.
So it's not just science fiction anymore.
Not at all. It's becoming more and more clear that AI is going to play a major role in shaping the future, and the question is, are we ready for it?
I mean, are we ready for a world of abundance where scarcity is a thing of the past?
That's a question that we all need to start thinking about, because the future is coming, and it's coming fast.
And Altman's interview gives us a glimpse of what that future could look like.
A future that's full of both incredible opportunities and unprecedented challenges.
So where do we even begin to unpack all of this?
Well, I think one of the most interesting places to start is with Altman's own story.
Okay, so let's rewind a bit. Who is Sam Altman, and how did he get involved in all of this?
Well, Altman's been a tech prodigy since he was a kid.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he started programming when he was like 8 years old.
Wow, 8 years old. That's impressive.
I know, right? And he actually co-founded a company called Looped when he was just 19.
19? What did Loop do?
It was like an early location-based social networking app.
Ah, okay, so kind of like Foursquare or something.
Yeah, something like that. They ended up selling the company a few years later. But that experience really shaped Altman's thinking about startups and the power of technology.
I can imagine. To have that kind of success at such a young age, it must have given him a lot of confidence.
Oh, absolutely. And after Looped, Altman went on to become the president of Y Combinator.
Ah, Y Combinator. That's like the Harvard of startup accelerators, right?
Exactly. They've funded some of the biggest names in tech, companies like Airbnb, Dropbox, and Stripe.
Wow, so Altman was right in the heart of the startup world, seeing firsthand what it takes to build successful companies.
And that experience really informs his perspective on AI. He sees this technology as a massive opportunity for entrepreneurs and startups.
Oh, so he's not just focused on the big picture theoretical stuff?
No, not at all. He's very much focused on the practical applications of AI and how it can be used to solve real-world problems and create value.
That's interesting. So he's not just a tech visionary, he's also a pragmatic businessman.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. Altman is not just some ivory tower academic.
Right.
He's someone who has built and scaled companies. and he understands the challenges and opportunities of bringing new technologies to market.
So how does he see AI changing the game for startups?
Well, he argues that AI is going to level the playing field in many ways.
Okay, how so?
In the past, startups often struggled to compete with larger companies because they didn't have the same resources or access to data.
Makes sense.
But AI is changing all of that. With AI, startups can now access powerful tools and insights that were previously only available to large corporations.
So it's like AI is giving startups a superpower.
Yeah, exactly. And Altman believes that this is going to lead to a wave of innovation and disruption across every industry.
So if you're a startup founder, this is like the Wild West all over again. The old rules are being thrown out the window.
It's a very exciting time to be building a company, that's for sure.
And Altman's interview really captures that sense of possibility.
It does, and it also highlights the importance of being adaptable, agile, and willing to embrace new technologies.
That makes a lot of sense, especially in the world of AI where things are moving so fast.
It's not just about having a great idea. It's about being able to execute on that idea and adapt to the rapidly changing landscape.
And Altman's own experience is a testament to that.
Absolutely. He's someone who has been at the forefront of technological innovation for years.
And his insights into AI are both fascinating and thought-provoking.
So let's dive into some of those insights.
Yeah, let's get specific. What are some of the key takeaways from Altman's interview that we should be paying attention to?
Well, one of the things that really struck me was his emphasis on speed.
Speed.
Yeah, he believes that speed is absolutely essential in the world of AI.
Okay, so how does that translate to the real world?
It means that companies need to be able to move quickly, iterate rapidly, and get their products to market as fast as possible.
Because if you're slow, someone else is going to beat you to it.
Exactly, and that's especially true in the world of AI, where the technology is constantly evolving and new breakthroughs are happening all the time.
It's like you're running a marathon where the finish line keeps moving.
Yeah, and you gotta be sprinting the whole way.
But speed isn't everything, right? You also need to have a solid strategy and a deep understanding of how to leverage AI.
Absolutely, and Altman talks a lot about that as well. He emphasizes the importance of having a clear vision for how you're going to use AI to solve a specific problem or create value for your customers.
So it's not just about throwing AI at everything and hoping something sticks.
Definitely not. You need to be strategic and thoughtful about how you implement AI.
And you also need to be aware of the potential risks and challenges.
Right. AI is a powerful tool, but it's not a magic bullet.
Yeah. And there are a lot of ethical considerations as well, things like bias and fairness.
Absolutely. Altman acknowledges that AI has the potential to exacerbate existing inequalities if we're not careful.
So it's not just about the technology itself, it's about how we use it and the values that we embed in it.
That's a crucial point.
Mm.
We need to make sure that AI is developed and deployed in a way that benefits all of humanity.
So it sounds like there's a lot to consider.
There is, but that's what makes this field so exciting.
It's not just about the tech, it's about the people, the values, and the potential to create a better future.
And Altman's interview really captures that complexity.
Okay, well, I'm definitely intrigued. Where do we go from here?
Well, I think the next step is to delve deeper into some of the specific applications of AI that Altman discusses.
Okay, so how are companies actually using AI today to solve problems and create value?
Right, and what are some of the emerging trends that we should be paying attention to?
Sounds good, let's do it. So we've talked about the big picture vision of AI, the opportunities for startups, and even the potential societal impact. But let's get into the nuts and bolts now.
Yeah, let's get down to brass tacks.
What did Altman actually reveal about how OpenAI is building AGI?
Well, he went pretty deep on the technical side, and one of the things that stood out to me was this evolution in their thinking.
Oh.
Remember how we talked about those levels of AGI? From basic chatbots all the way to AI systems that are basically innovators.
Yeah, like those AI systems could design a new airplane wing or something, right? It's crazy to think we might get there sooner than we expect.
Right. And Altman was very open about how their initial approach to AGI was actually pretty different from where they are now.
Oh, really?
They started with a more traditional approach, focusing heavily on reinforcement learning.
So rewarding the AI when it does something right, kind of like training a dog.
Exactly.
Like that.
But then they had this major realization. As they experimented and gathered more data, they saw that simply scaling up existing deep learning models, especially language models, was producing incredible results.
So it was like they found this shortcut, this hidden path to AGI that no one else had really explored before.
Yeah, and it kind of flipped their whole approach on its head.
Interesting.
Instead of meticulously hand-coding every rule and nuance, they could give the AI a massive amount of data and let it figure out the patterns on its own.
So it's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. We're not programming these AI systems in the traditional sense. We're
Right.
giving them the tools to learn and evolve.
Exactly.
Wow.
And that led to a huge shift in their strategy.
Okay.
They started pouring resources into building bigger and more powerful language models, which ultimately led to breakthroughs like GPT-3 and GPT-4.
So it's all about the data.
Data is king, that's for sure.
But it wasn't just about making the models bigger, was it?
No, definitely not.
Altman also talked about how they had to develop new techniques for training these models to make sure they're both powerful and safe.
He mentioned unsupervised learning, where the model is basically given tons of data and allowed to learn patterns and relationships on its own without explicit instructions.
So instead of teaching it specific rules, you're letting it discover those rules by itself by analyzing massive amounts of information.
Right, it's like giving a kid a giant library and saying, go explore, figure out how stories work, how language works, how the world works.
I like that analogy. That's really helpful.
And then there's reinforcement learning from human feedback, or RLHF, where human trainers actually provide feedback to guide the model's learning process.
So that's how they make sure the AI aligns with human values and goals?
Exactly. It's like having a teacher or a mentor who could say, hey, that's a great insight, but this part needs a little work.
Let's refine your thinking here.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense. You need that human element to steer the AI in the right direction, to make sure it's not just generating text, but actually understanding the nuances of language and the complexities of the real world.
And these techniques have been absolutely crucial in creating models that are not only incredibly capable, but also safe and aligned with our values.
That's good to hear.
But what really gets me excited is that this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, there's more.
Altman seems to think so too.
Okay.
He believes the rate of progress in AI is only going to accelerate from here, and we're going to see some truly mind-blowing advancements in the coming years.
What were some of the areas he highlighted?
Well, he hinted at some pretty wild stuff.
Like what?
Imagine AI agents that can interact with the physical world in far more sophisticated ways than we see today.
Okay, give me an example.
Like robots that can learn tasks just by watching us, or AI systems that can design and build other AI systems.
Whoa, okay. That's both awesome and a little bit terrifying.
It makes you wonder if we're prepared for the changes that are coming.
Right.
It does.
That's the big question, isn't it?
Mhm.
And Altman acknowledges that we need to be having serious conversations about how we manage this rapid pace of change and ensure that AI is developed responsibly.
So what's the solution?
Well, he talked about the need for thoughtful regulation, ethical guidelines, and open communication between researchers, policymakers, and the public.
So it's not just a tech problem, it's a societal problem.
Exactly. We can't just sit back and let the tech industry dictate how AI unfolds.
We need to be proactive in shaping its development and making sure it benefits all of humanity.
Absolutely. And he believes the best way to mitigate the risks of AI is to ensure its development is open and transparent.
Okay, so more transparency. Got it.
That means involving a wide range of perspectives and expertise.
So not just the tech geniuses, but also ethicists, social scientists, policymakers, and everyday people who will be impacted by this technology.
Precisely. It needs to be a collaborative effort.
Not something that happens behind closed doors in Silicon Valley. Exactly. And I think that's what makes Altman such a compelling figure in this space.
Yeah, he seems to really get it.
He's not just focused on the technical advancements. He's also deeply engaged with the ethical and societal implications of AI.
You can tell he genuinely wants to see this technology used for good.
Right. He's optimistic about the potential of AI to solve some of humanity's biggest challenges, but he's also realistic about the risks and the need to proceed with caution.
That's a good balance to have.
Absolutely. And I think that balance is crucial. We need to be excited about the possibilities, but also mindful of the potential pitfalls.
So how do we strike that balance? How do we ensure that AI is used for good and not for harm?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And there's no easy answer. But I think one of the most important things we can do is to foster a culture of open dialogue and collaboration.
So bringing together people from different backgrounds, different disciplines, different perspectives.
Exactly. We need to break down the silos and create spaces where people can come together to discuss these issues, share their ideas, and work together to find solutions.
It's like we need to democratize the conversation about AI.
Yeah, it can't just be a conversation that happens among tech elites. It needs to be a conversation that involves everyone.
Because ultimately, the future of AI is going to impact all of us.
Absolutely. And we all have a stake in shaping that future.
Okay, well, I'm convinced we need to have more conversations like this. We need to bring more people into the fold.
I agree. The more we talk about these issues, the better equipped we'll be to navigate the challenges and opportunities of AI.
And Altman's interview is a great starting point for those conversations.
It is. It's a thought-provoking and insightful look at the future of AI.
And it gives us a lot to think about.
It does, and it leaves us with a sense of both excitement and responsibility.
Yeah, like the future is in our hands.
And it's up to us to make sure that we use AI wisely and ethically.
All right, well, on that note, let's wrap up this part of our deep dive.
Sounds good.
We've covered a lot of ground, from the technical details of AGI to the broader societal implications of AI.
And I think we've raised some important questions along the way.
Questions that we'll continue to explore in the next and final part of our deep dive.
I'm looking forward to it.
So we've covered a lot of ground, but one thing that really stuck with me was Altman's analogy of AI being like a platform shift.
Yeah, like the jump from, say, dumb phones to smartphones.
Exactly.
Big change.
Huge change. And he used the example of Facebook, right?
Yeah, how they almost missed out on the whole mobile revolution because they were so focused on their website.
It's a good reminder that even the biggest companies can be disrupted if they're not paying attention.
Especially when the shift is happening so fast, like it is with AI.
So what's the takeaway for companies today? What should they be doing to make sure they don't become the next Nokia or BlackBerry?
I think the key is to be adaptable, to be willing to experiment, and to not be afraid to cannibalize your own business.
Cannibalize your own business. That's an interesting way to put it.
It means being willing to disrupt yourself before someone else does.
Okay, I get it. So if you see a new technology that has the potential to change your industry, don't ignore it.
Embrace it.
Embrace it, even if it means challenging your existing assumptions and ways of doing things.
Even if it's uncomfortable.
Because in the long run, being adaptable is the only way to survive.
Exactly. The companies that are able to adapt and evolve will be the ones that thrive in the age of AI.
And the ones that cling to the old ways of doing things, they'll be left behind.
They'll be the dinosaurs.
Yeah. And, on the topic of evolution, Altman also talked about how OpenAI itself has had to adapt its approach as the field of AI has progressed.
Yeah, their journey has been anything but linear.
They had to make some pretty significant course corrections along the way, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, think about it. They started out with this idea of building AGI through reinforcement learning.
Training AI agents in virtual environments, like games.
Yeah, and then they realized that scaling up language models was actually a more promising path.
It's like they stumbled onto this hidden doorway to AGI that no one else had really noticed.
And they were willing to pivot, to change their entire strategy based on new data and insights.
Which is incredibly important, especially in a field that's moving as fast as AI.
You have to be willing to admit when you're wrong.
To let go of your old assumptions.
To adapt and evolve as the technology evolves.
And that takes a certain level of humility, which I think is something that's often lacking in the tech world.
It's easy to get caught up in the hype.
The hype, the ego.
But the best leaders, the ones who really drive progress, are the ones who are willing to learn and grow.
The ones who are never satisfied with the status quo.
The ones who are always pushing the boundaries, even if it means taking risks.
And I think Altman embodies that spirit.
Yeah, he does. You can tell he's genuinely passionate about AI and its potential to change the world.
And he's not afraid to challenge conventional wisdom.
To question assumptions.
To push the limits of what's possible.
And I think that's what we need more of in this field. More people who are willing to think big, to dream big, and to take bold action.
People who are willing to embrace the unknown.
To explore the uncharted territory.
To create the future that we want to see.
And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into Sam Altman's interview.
It's been a wild ride.
It has. We've covered a lot of ground, from the technical details of AGI to the broader societal implications of AI. But I think the one thing that really stands out for me is this sense of possibility.
Yeah, this feeling that we're on the cusp of something truly transformative.
That we're living in a time of unprecedented technological advancement.
And that the future is ours to shape.
And whether that future is utopian or dystopian,
well, that's up to us.
It's up to us to make the right choices, to develop AI responsibly and ethically, and to use this technology to create a better world for everyone.
And that's a challenge that I think we're up to.
I think so too, and I'm excited to see what the future holds.
Me too.
So, to all of you listening out there, we encourage you to keep exploring these ideas, to keep asking questions, and to keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible with AI.
Because the future is not something that just happens to us. It's something we create together.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time on WABA.